Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and Liz Cheney is still on her hate Trump parade. And that train, well, it rolled into the station at Fox News, and it did not go the way she wanted it to. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. I know I say it a lot, but those things really do matter, especially with an election season coming up. You know how they like to suppress conservative voices. You guys are the soldiers on the front line of that. You're liking, you're sharing, you're commenting. It really helps us out. So, Liz Cheney rolled her hate Trump train into the station at Fox News, and she spoke to Bret Baier, who is by no means a fervent Trump supporter. But he hit her with a lot of reality about the polls, about how far Trump is ahead, about how it's almost impossible to stop him at this point. But Liz, well, she didn't want to answer certain questions she was given, certain questions that make, her seem like a hypocrite. Let's take a look.
Read a quote from your book, Oath and Honor. Today, none of us can tell if the story of January 6th is nearing its end or is only just beginning. We may have darker chapters ahead. Trump has told us that he thinks the Constitution can and should be suspended when necessary, that what happened on January 6th was justified, that in a second Trump presidency he would seek retribution, and much more. He knows judicial rulings have force only if the executive branch enforces them, so he won't. You're fearful of a second Trump presidency.
I am. I think that, we know what he will do. He's already done it. We saw what he did after the 2020 election, obviously what he did to try to seize power in 2020, and of course on January 6th. And he tells us every day. And if you look at the steps that he would have to take in terms of simply refusing to enforce court orders or comply with court orders with which he disagrees, putting people in key positions as Attorney General, for example, or as head of OLC, unethical lawyers who would help him, frankly, blow through many of the guardrails of our Constitution. I think it's a very real concern that he would take steps very quickly that would unravel the rule of law.
This is the Wall Street Journal. This is not a MAGA, op-ed here, and they say Trump as dictator is a classic case of projection, abuse executive power, ignore the law, run roughshod over individual liberties, retaliate against political opponents. Mr. Biden and his allies have done exactly what they warned Mr. Trump will do if he returns to the White House. Unlike Mr. Biden, however, Mr. Trump would have to contend with a hostile media and a federal bureaucracy that would be throwing pots, pans, and candlesticks at him at every step.
Well, I think they're wrong. I think if you look at, we don't have to guess about what next President Trump would do because he did it before. And he would not have around him the people that were around him, the people, frankly, that the country will hear from as his trial moves forward, who were all his appointees, people that he appointed to the White House counsel's office, the Department of Justice, his own family, people that told him on January 6th, as you and I were talking that day, actually, that he needed to tell the mob to go home. People who told him that what he was doing was illegal. Those people won't be around him. And, the rulings of our courts are fundamental to who we are as a constitutional republic. If a president doesn't enforce those rulings, they don't have weight.
Right. But what about the point it made in this op-ed, specifically? And I understand what you're saying about the former president, what you feel about what would happen, but you haven't been vocal. But you haven't been vocal about President Biden when, like, executive orders to cancel student loan, ban evictions, mandate COVID vaccines. Well, here's a list.
I think it's a very different thing.
After the SCOTUS ruling,
are you going to let me answer the
question?
Yeah,
I am. Just let me list them. After the SCOTUS ruled against it, he still used regulatory means to write off, the student debt, wall off 1.5 million acres of land for fossil fuel. What this basically is saying is that there are things that have been done outside of the rule of federal courts that you haven't weighed in on.
Well, first of all, I don't think it's true that I haven't weighed in on those. And I think a lot of those, if you look at the kinds of things that he's done with respect, for example, to energy policy, with respect to setting aside lands across the West, I've been very vocal that I think those policies are wrong. It's very different from a president. And look, you wrote a book about George Washington. The last chapter of your book is called The Gift of a Peaceful Transition of Power. That is what we're talking about.
Yeah, but this is not about me.
That's right, but that's a very important concept. Let me finish my answer, because every single president, Republican and Democrat, since George Washington, has ensured the peaceful transition of power. Donald Trump tried to seize power. So we can disagree with Biden policies, but the fact that he tried to seize power, the fact that he ignored the rulings of 61 courts, the fact that he ignored his own attorney general, his own White House counsel, who told him what he was saying about the election was false. It wasn't true. His claims were false, and he went out and made them anyway, knowing that. The extent to which he, while a violent mob was assaulting the Capitol, he wouldn't tell them to leave. Instead, he tweeted against his own vice president, and he poured fuel on the flames. Those are lines that can't be crossed. And look, this isn't about policy. I voted with Donald Trump 93% of the time. This is about the nation. It's about the republic. It's about the Constitution.
And we've covered all elements of January 6th, and I had an interview with the former president where I told him that he did not win the election. That said, he's winning this election.
That's right.
Now, Liz, I get it. You don't want to answer for your past. You don't want to answer for the things you said in the past. But this does seem like a personal vendetta with Trump. You say it's about the country and the Constitution, but the more you speak, the more personal it sounds. So what is it? Is it personal? Is it the Constitution, as you say? Because Biden's violating the Constitution left, right, and center. Where are you? Where's your book on that? I want to know what you guys think about this. Is it personal with her, or is it really love of country? Let me know in the comments. Also, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Again, it really helps us out. I'm Carmine Sabia for Explain America. We love you guys. God bless you. Take care, everybody.